Hello guys, I'm Vishali Kikanchal and we are discussing chemistry. So this is the last video on the chapter 4, the effects of the chemical reaction. Here we are going to understand some concepts and based upon these concepts we are going to practice some sample problems. So let's start our discussion with the first concept, which is the element changing places. What are the elements changing places? We can understand this with the help of the single displacement reaction. Now what is a single displacement reaction? In the single displacement reaction only we can see that the elements are the changing places. In the single displacement reaction, an element displaces another element in a compound, right? We will be having a compound. In the compound we will be having an element, right? So the another element that is present, it is going to displace the element which is present in the compound, producing a new compound and a new element, right? So here we can understand this as A plus BC. A is the element, B is the element present in the compound, right? So BC is the compound. It is going to form AC as a new compound and B as a new element after the single displacement reaction. It is useful for recovering of the dissolved metal from a solution. Like if I have the solution of copper sulfate, right, the copper sulfate solution will be having the copper in the dissolved form, and what I want to do, I want to extract this copper, and what I am going to do then, I am going to extract the copper with the help of this displacement reaction. This is a single displacement reaction which can extract the element from its solution, right? It can extract the dissolved metal from a solution, and I know zinc can displace copper. In this equation, the copper sulfate is the compound and zinc is used to displace copper from the copper sulfate. So Zn is present in the solid form. It is reacted with the CuSO4 in the aqueous form. It is going to form ZnSO4 and Cu. Right, so Zn is going to displace copper. It is going to form ZnSO4 and copper over here. Right, so in this manner we now need to know which element is going to displace which element. That we can understand with the help of the activity series. Right, so now you must know what is an activity series, where we are placing the elements in the order of its reactivity. Right, so here we can understand the activity series. We can place more active elements above the low active elements, right? So now here with the help of this activity series we are going to understand some questions. The first question states, using the activity series, write a balanced chemical reaction that occurs when magnesium metal is placed in a solution of copper 2 sulfate. Now we have the compound which is copper 2 sulfate, and what I am placing in it, I am placing magnesium in it, and we are going to see that the single displacement reaction will occur or not. Right, so we have the step 1. In the step 1 we have to write the chemical formula of the reactants, and from the reactants I have to identify which one is the element and which one is the compound, right? So element over here is the magnesium and the compound over here is the copper sulfate. Copper 2 sulfate is CuSO4. Right, in the step 2 we are going to identify which metal is higher on the activity series. Right, we have to understand which one is higher. The higher is more reactive. It is going to displace the lesser reactive element. So here from the activity series I can see magnesium is higher than the copper. So magnesium is more reactive than copper. It can displace the copper from the CuSO4 solution. Now we have to determine the chemical formula of the new compound. We have understood that the magnesium is going to displace copper. Now we need to know what is the output, what is the new compound that is formed. The new compound that is formed will be having the magnesium and the ion would be SO4. So we are going to form the new compound as MgSO4. Magnesium sulfate is a new compound that is formed over here. In the step 4 we are going to write the balanced chemical equation. The balanced chemical equation You can see we have Mg in the solid state plus CuSO4 in the aqueous state. It is going to form MgSO4 in the aqueous state plus copper is released, right, as a solid. It's released as a precipitate. Now coming to the next question, which states using the activity series, write a balanced chemical reaction that occurs when lead is placed in a zinc nitrate solution. In the step 1, we are going to write the chemical formula of the reactants and identify elements and compound, right? So here, which is the element? Element is lead and compound over here is zinc nitrate. So zinc nitrate over here is ZnNO3 2. Right, in the step 2, we are going to identify which metal is higher on the activity series. I know from the activity series zinc is higher than lead. So lead cannot displace zinc because zinc is more reactive. Lead, which is lesser reactive, it is not going to displace zinc from its solution. So zinc is not going to be displaced from its compound. We will not be having any displacement reaction. There will not be any kind of reaction that will occur when I am going to put the lead in zinc nitrate solution. Coming to the next question, which states use the activity series to write a balanced chemical equation for the reaction that occurs when lithium is added to sulfuric acid. Now here we have the sulfuric acid as the compound and lithium as the element. So step 1 is write the chemical formula of the reactants and atoms or ions involved in the reaction. So here what is the element? Element is lithium. What is the compound? Compound over here is H2SO4. In the H2SO4 we have the ions, and how I am going to write it? We have H plus ion, then H plus ion, then SO4 2 negative ion. So we have these many ions which are present. Now in the step 2 we have to identify which is higher on the activity series. The given element, which is lithium or hydrogen. Right, so lithium is higher than hydrogen, then I can say the displacement reaction will occur because lithium is more reactive, it is going to displace the hydrogen. The displacement reaction will occur. In the step 3 we are going to determine the chemical formula of the new compound. In the new compound, what I am going to do? I am going to remove hydrogen and in the place of hydrogen I am going to put lithium. So Li2SO4 is the new compound that is formed. In the step 4 we are going to write the balanced chemical equation, which is lithium in the solid state plus H2SO4 in aqueous. It is giving me Li2SO4 in aqueous plus H2 in the gaseous form. Right. So hydrogen gas is released in this reaction. Coming to the next question, which states use the activity series to write a balanced chemical equation for the reaction that occurs when sodium is added to water. In the step 1 we are going to write the chemical formula of the reactants and atom or ions involved in the reaction. So we will be having the reactants. First reactant is the sodium, which is sodium in the solid state, and the second reactant over here is water, which is the compound over here. Now water is present in the form of ions. We will be having H plus ion and the OH negative ions for the water. In the step 2, what I am going to do? I am going to identify which is higher in the activity series, element or hydrogen. I know sodium is more reactive than hydrogen, so I can say the displacement reaction will occur and sodium is going to displace hydrogen. In the step 3, we are going to determine the chemical formula of the new compound. In the new compound, here it is going to displace hydrogen. So what was the other ion? Other ion was OH, and sodium is going to form a compound with OH. It is going to form NaOH, right? So in the step 4, we are going to write the balanced chemical equation, which is 2Na solid plus 2H2O gives 2NaOH aqueous plus H2 in the gaseous form. Right? In this manner we can understand these many questions. Now coming to the halogen activity series. Like we have discussed the activity series, over here we have the activity series for the halogens. Halogens are fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine. For the fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, we have the activity series where I am going to put the most reactive element as the fluorine. Fluorine is the most reactive, then chlorine, then bromine, and then iodine. Right, so I can say the least reactive is iodine, then bromine, then chlorine, and then fluorine. So when I am going to react them, I am going to see which one of them is more reactive, and the more reactive is going to displace the lesser reactive from its compound. So let's start with the example. Here we have Cl2 gas plus Ki in aqueous. So here Cl2 is chlorine. chlorine is more reactive than iodine. You can see chlorine is more reactive than iodine. So chlorine can displace iodine from here. So we will be having 2 KCl plus I2 is released over here. Here we have the negative ion which is being displaced rather than the positive ion. In all of these questions that we had discussed so far, what was displaced? The only ion which was displaced was positive ion. Here we were displacing H plus. Here also we were displacing H plus. Now here we are displacing the negative ion, right? Here we are displacing the anion instead of cation when I am talking about the halogens. Right, so now coming to one more question, one more example over here where we have I2 in the solid, it is going to be reacted with 2 KCl in aqueous. So here, because iodine is lesser reactive than chlorine, it is not going to do the reaction, the single displacement reaction. So there would not be any kind of reaction because iodine cannot displace chlorine from its compound. Now coming to the single displacement reaction of solids. Here up till here we have discussed the single displacement reaction when one of the element or the compound is aqueous, right? And another could be solid or gas, or even it could be in aqueous form, right? So now here we are going to understand what will happen if I have both the element as well as compound in the solid state. So here if I see the 3 carbon, the carbon is in the solid state, and then we have a compound of iron Fe2O3 which is again in solid state. It is going to release the carbon monoxide gas and it is going to produce the iron. So this is the reduction of the iron where I am going to get the purified iron from the iron oxide. So here it is occurring at a higher temperature, and you can see solid is displacing the solid, right? So here solid element carbon which is more reactive, it is going to displace the iron, and this I can form the iron. Now coming to the double displacement reaction. As of now we have understood the single displacement reaction. We are moving now towards the double displacement reaction. Here we will be having the 2 compounds. We are not having any elements over here. We will be having the compounds over here. The elements in the compound displaces each other, or trade takes place, right? It is going to produce 2 new compounds. So we are going to have a trade, or we are going to produce 2 new compounds when the elements in the 2 compounds are going to displace each other. Like we have AB plus CD. So AB, it is going to be forming AD, and CD is going to be forming CB. So in this manner we are going to produce 2 new compound by displacement of the elements. For example, we have CuSO4 in aqueous plus 2NaOH in aqueous gives CuOH2 in solid plus Na2SO4 in aqueous. Right, here you can see we are going to form the 2 new compounds. Now coming to the types of the double displacement reaction. Now we have the various types of the double displacement reaction. How we are going to classify the types? In accordance of the generated product, right? We are going to see what kind of generated product we have, and in accordance to that we are going to see that we have the different types of the double displacement reaction. First is the precipitation reaction, where we are going to form the precipitate. For that we have to understand what is a solution. Solution is a homogeneous mixture of 2 or more substances, right? So you have to remember this word homogeneous over here. Coming to the solute, solute is the thing that dissolves in the solvent, right? Solvent is that which dissolves the solute, right? So when I am using the salt and I am adding salt to water, salt is solute and now water is solvent, right? So solute, that is salt, is dissolved in the water, that is my solvent. Coming to the solubility, solubility is the quantity of solute that dissolves in a given solvent at a given temperature. I am going to see what is the temperature. At the given temperature, how much solute can be dissolved in a given solvent, right? If you are going to increase the temperature, more quantity of solute can be dissolved. So if you put salt in water at a given temperature, we can put a maximum amount of salt only, right? But if you increase the temperature, then we can put more and more salt also into it. So it depends upon the temperature, and at a particular temperature the quantity of solute that dissolves in a given solvent is the solubility. So now coming to the table. So here we have this table which shows a combination of cations and anions which are very soluble and which are slightly soluble compound. Right, so from this table we can understand that which one of the compound is going to precipitate. If there is a precipitate formed, which one? If there is no precipitate, why? Right, so that we are going to understand with the help of some questions. So let's start with the first question, which states, will a precipitate form when the solution of potassium chloride and silver nitrate are combined? Write a chemical reaction if it takes place. So in the first step, what we are going to do, we are going to write the chemical formula of the reactants. What are the reactants? The reactants over here are the potassium chloride and silver nitrate. Potassium chloride is KCl, silver nitrate is AgNO3. Right? Both of them are present in the aqueous form. In the step 2, we are going to separate the reactants into their ions. KCl can be separated into K positive and Cl negative. AgNO3 can be separated as Ag positive and NO3 negative. In the step 3, we are going to combine cation and anion to form a new compound. Right? So here, this K positive I am going to combine with NO3 negative. Right? And this Ag positive I am going to combine with Cl negative. So I am going to form KNO3 plus AgCl. Right? So we have to check now the solubility. We know from the table the AgCl is slightly soluble, whereas KNO3 is very soluble. The thing which is slightly soluble can be precipitated out. So AgCl is precipitated out because KNO3, which is very soluble, it is present in the solution state. It is present in the aqueous state only. It cannot be precipitated out easily. Write the balanced chemical equation in the step 5, which is KCl aqueous plus AgNO3 aqueous gives AgCl in solid plus KNO3 in aqueous. So here this solid represents that AgCl is precipitated. Coming to the next question, which states, will a precipitate form when the solution of potassium sulfate and iron 3 chloride are combined? Write a chemical reaction if it takes place. Again, we have to repeat these steps. In the step 1, we are going to write the chemical formula of the reactants. Reactants are the potassium sulfate K2SO4 aqueous and iron 3 chloride, which is FeCl3. In the step 2, we are going to separate the reactants into their ions. What are the various ions? K plus, SO4 2 negative. Fe3 positive, Cl negative, Cl negative, Cl negative. So now we are going to combine the cation and anion to form a new compound. So K plus is going to form a compound with Cl negative and SO4 2 negative is going to form the compound with Fe3 positive. So what are the new compounds that are formed? So we have KCl and Fe2SO4 3. This is my step 3 to combine cation and anion to form the new compound KCl Fe2SO4 3. In the step 4, we are going to check the precipitate, right? So here you can see KCl Fe2SO4 3. Both are very soluble, so we will not be having any kind of precipitate in this reaction. Coming to the next concept, where we are going to understand the reactions that are going to produce the gases. We have the direct gas production. For example, we have the addition of acid to sulfide compound. We have two types of gas production, direct and indirect. In the direct gas production, we have the addition of acid to sulfide. When I am adding the acid to sulfide, we are getting the gas directly. So this is an example of direct gas production. We can have more such examples. We have K2S in aqueous plus 2HCl. K2S is a sulfide and here HCl is an acid. When these two are combined, we are going to form H2S. Right? Over here, H2S is my hydrogen sulfide gas and here we are going to form KCl in the aqueous form. The second type of the reaction where the gas is formed is the indirect gas production, where we have unstable product of double displacement reaction. We have the double displacement reaction. We have a compound which is formed which is unstable and it is going to decompose. It is going to form a gas. For example, we have MgCO3 aqueous plus H2SO4 aqueous. It is going to form MgSO4 aqueous plus H2CO3, and this H2CO3 aqueous is unstable. It is going to decompose. So if I see the H2CO3 reaction, this is my carbonic acid. It is unstable. It is going to form H2O liquid plus CO2 in gas. Right? Here we have MgCO3 plus H2SO4 gives MgSO4 plus carbonic acid. I can write it as H2O in liquid plus CO2 in gas. right? So here you can see this is the indirect gas production where H2CO3 is decomposed. Right, now here we can have one more example where we have Na2SO3 aqueous plus 2HCl aqueous gives H2O in liquid plus SO2 gas and NaCl in aqueous, right? So we can summarize it like when we have sulfides. Sulfides are, for example, we have Na2S, we can have K2S as well. So these are sulfides. Sulfides are in the form of this type of products like Na2S. When it is undergoing the reaction, the double displacement reaction, it is going to form the hydrogen sulfide gas, which is H2S gas. When we have carbonates like for example we have Na2CO3, carbonates are going to release the carbon dioxide gas, CO2 gas. When I have sulfides for example we have K2SO3, when it is undergoing the double displacement reaction, it is going to form the sulfur dioxide, SO2. So in this manner we can have the various reactions that are going to produce the gases. Coming to the last concept for the day, that is the neutralization reaction. The neutralization reaction, as the name suggests, it is going to neutralize the acid as well as base. It is the reaction of an acid and a base in which the resulting solution has a pH closer to 7 than either of the reactants. Either of the reactants, because acid will be having the pH lesser than 7, bases will be having pH greater than 7, and when I am going to neutralize them, the pH will be closer to 7. It's a type of double displacement reaction where we are going to produce water and an ionic compound which is called as salt, right? AB plus CD gives AD plus CB, which is the double displacement reaction. Let's understand this with the help of the reaction of an acid and base. We have HNO3 aqueous plus NaOH aqueous. So NaOH over here is base, HNO3 is acid. It is going to produce H2O, water, and NaNO3, which is the salt over here, or the ionic compound I can say. I hope you understood all of the things that I have discussed so far, and I hope you are going to meet me soon in the next class. Thank you so much.